Up next on Way of the Renaissance Man, FreedomFest, Battle Buddies, and Exposing Frauds featuring Rich Checkan.
Welcome to the Way of the Renaissance Man podcast. This is a show about ideas, personal empowerment, and celebrating the rational life. Our goal is to help each other discover the tools needed to better focus our minds, integrate our thoughts with actions, and live the lives we really want. I'm your host, Jim Woods. All right, sometimes you interview somebody who is you don't really know too well, you know, and you're kind of digging around for a little bit of common ground. Other times, your battle buddies with you. Today's the latter example. Rich Checkan, welcome back to the Way of the Renaissance Man podcast.
Wonderful to be here, Jim.
Yes.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
You're looking great, as usual.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Smoke and mirrors.
Smoke, yeah, see, that's how I do it too. So, we're here at FreedomFest 2021, and it's the first thing we've actually got to go out and do in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So, post-pandemic
found
world,
your pants,
man.
I see. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I found my pants, you know. I'm actually able to go out in public now. So talk to me. How you been?
Been good. You know, obviously the past year has been pretty good for our business. You know,
Yes.
You had the scare with the pandemic, the reaction to the shutdowns by all the governments around the world. People got a bit spooked. They flocked to gold, right?
Yes.
So it's been fairly good for our business. I could tell you it's great to be back out with people again.
Yes.
We're a social bunch of creatures, you know,
Yes.
and it's not the same working for Zoom. You get to connect better when you get to sit kneecap to kneecap and talk to people.
Exactly.
One-on-one.
Yeah. There's nothing that, I mean, Zoom and all these different things. They're great tools. I like the company Zoom. You know, had great earnings. However, it's nothing like hanging out with your buddy and having a drink and you know,
two ways about
and
it.
talking BS. You know,
Amen.
reminiscing. Now you mentioned, of course, beer business, gold.
Yeah.
So just as a reminder, I know you've been on the show several times actually. But Asset Strategies International is Rich's company, and there's my recommended gold vendor, and that's the only gold vendor I recommend. Because people, you know this, of course, and we can talk about this a little bit, but a lot of people ask me, because they know that I do investment stuff, obviously, and they ask me, oh, what about gold? What should I do with gold? And I'm not a gold expert, but I know you should have a little bit in your portfolio as wealth insurance. But I also know there's a lot of gold ripoffs out there too.
Yeah. So that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. As gold becomes more important, and I do think it's coming, we're already seeing the signs of inflation. And
gold inflation gold is the best hedge against inflation.
Number one antidote.
Exactly.
No two ways about it. It's been that way for a long time. And as people become more fearful, you will see predatory practices on the increase, on the rise. I'm already getting calls from customers that start with, I think I made a mistake. And in every case they did. Once they do, it's too late for me to help them.
Right.
I can give you just one bit of advice for your listeners.
Yeah.
I hope when they shop, they consider us and others. Never just shop one source. I don't
Right.
care even if Jim says we're great people. Shop others.
Do your
and
comparison
compare.
because they're going to find out that you guys are the best in the business.
But if you ask just one question before you buy precious metals from anybody, and that's, do you buy back? If the answer is no, I don't care what the hell they say, you should never buy from them.
Do you buy back? It's like an insurance policy, basically.
Yeah, because here's what's going on, and I hear it from the victims all the time. And they got this total victim mentality, like, I don't want to make any waves. They were ripped off.
Right.
But if you ask that question, they'll tell you things like, oh, you can do much better at auction. That's why we don't buy back. They'll tell some other story.
Yeah.
They're very convincing. They're super nice. But the reality is, here's why they won't buy back. Because they charged you a horrific premium when you went in, and they won't buy back because they don't want to expose how badly they raped you.
Right.
I don't know how else to say it.
If you spent $500,000 for a quantity of gold and they're only willing to buy it back for $150,000, you got screwed.
There's no two ways about it. I had a customer actually was referred by a celebrity endorser, right? And
There's a lot of that in the gold business.
he bought $300,000 worth of metal and said, I think I overdid. I want to sell some back. And they said, no, you don't want to sell it back. A month later, no, you don't want to sell it back. He heard us through one of the newsletter services and called us, and I said, happy to buy it back even if we didn't sell it to you. And he sent us the invoice, because I asked for an inventory. He sent me this invoice. I knew when he bought it.
Yeah, you know what he
Gold
paid
price
for
was
it.
the same, and he had $145,000 worth of metal.
How much did he pay for it?
300,000.
Yeah, that's a double
So what they
ripoff
did
right there.
is they charged him for $10,000 worth of gold maples, something that could be shopped all over the place, and they were under the market. So if he shopped, he's like, wow, this is fantastic. They're giving me a great price. And then for $290,000 worth of stuff, they charged him 50 to 60% over the spot price for
crazy
bullion. And it was obscure stuff that he couldn't shop. They totally took advantage of him. I pointed him back to the celebrity endorser. I pointed him back to them because nobody's going to pay that premium.
Right.
And the endorser put pressure, and they gave him all his money back. But that's rare.
Yeah.
The best way to protect yourself is never to be a victim in the first
Well,
place. Do you buy back?
Yeah, and also like the only reason that they knew to go back to the person is because you gave them wise counsel.
No question. And I hate sending him back into the Shark Tank, but it's the only place he's ever going to recoup value is if he can get them to do the right thing in the end.
Yeah, sometimes you have to just, petition for a regress of grievances.
There's no well, you can put some credits. I know what you did to me.
Yes.
It's all clear now.
Exactly.
And they will respond because very few people do that.
Well, the thing is too, it's like a lot of companies that deal with these kind of things, and this is any company that sells you anything, but they thrive on the black box aspect of it. Like I'm an investment expert, but I have nothing to do. I have no knowledge of the intricacies of the gold stuff other than what you teach me.
Yeah.
And so if somebody's out there that's their job is to convince you to buy something, they can get good at it.
They're really good at it. They're super nice people. I mean,
Yes.
I'd go have a drink with them. I'm not going to buy anything from them.
Yeah, because they don't buy back.
Exactly. You get that point, you're good.
Exactly. Yeah, get that point, people. Well, so, you and I have known each other now for a few years, become friends, and I value that quite a bit. And I also want to make sure that we talk about like the stuff we have in common, the stuff that we like to do together and stuff like that. So we're both in the military, but you have an excellent military background.
So do you.
Yeah, well.
And thank you for your service.
Yeah.
It is greatly appreciated.
Same here.
I remember when Roger introduced us, he's like, oh, you got to get to know Jim. You're going to like him. And we started talking at FreedomFest a few years back.
I think 4 years ago at FreedomFest.
And we just started talking and we found out that we both have a drive to take care of people, right?
Right.
We both are decent people that like living life and experiencing different things. We found out we love the same rock group, Rush.
Yes.
And, rest in peace, Neil Peart, best drummer alive ever.
Ever, yes.
And found out we had a military background and, we're brothers from a different mother,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So, but you went to the academy, graduated West Point.
Yeah.
It's always an impressive thing.
Hudson High.
Hudson High, that's it. For those that don't know, that's the nickname. So, but it was funny because you always kind of knew you wanted to do that. That's the only place you even applied to go to college, right?
Yeah, well, I didn't always know. I fell in love with West Point romantically, right? So this was during the Reagan years when we had a little bit more patriotism flowing through the nation than we do right now.
A little bit different zeitgeist than now. Right?
And, so it seemed like a good idea. My buddy Mark wanted to go too. We're like, we'll both apply to West Point, or one of the academies. And I went up to visit because it was only 45 minutes from where I lived in Jersey. So I went up for an overnight, and I just absolutely fell in love with the place, the granite walls and everything, the tradition and all this other stuff. And it's where I applied. And they were like, well, why don't you apply to all the academies? Then you can get into an academy. And like, you're not a good listener.
Yeah.
I want to go
to
fall in love with the other
academies,
not the other academies. And I knew by Christmas, early decision, so I never applied anywhere else. Every other application was due January 1st.
That's rare because it's hard. It's super hard to get into those academies.
Seemed pretty easy to me.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess if you apply and get in.
No, I was very fortunate.
It's a very competitive situation. You have to be top notch and on everything. And don't you have to have like a senatorial recommendation?
You do, and that's an interesting story too. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, I want to hear that because I've heard this already, but I want to. It's interesting.
I was a horrible interviewer, clearly in high school. Maybe I'm better now. Maybe I'm not. I don't know.
You're better now.
But so in Jersey, my congressman was Bob Rowe. Right, so I went for an interview, filled out all the paperwork. They had a panel, he didn't interview us, a panel did, and they didn't pick me. One of my senators was Senator Bill Bradley, New York Knickerbockers, New Jersey senator. Yeah. Went for an interview, they didn't pick me. The last interview I was never called for. That was Senator Williams.
Okay.
Do you remember Senator Abscam Williams?
Yes, the Abscam.
They caught him in a hotel room selling arms, right, to the Arabs.
Exactly.
So we had submitted,
an infamous endorsement. But hey,
well, we had submitted our application, and he never got around to it because he was busy in jail.
Yeah.
So Senator Lautenberg took over, and he had no time. So he apparently gave me the nomination on paper. I look pretty damn good on paper.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So that's how I got my nomination.
Hey,
I didn't know anybody.
Yeah, but see, that's interesting though, because and this kind of goes into like part of what I talk about. Part of like being like a Renaissance man is kind of rolling with the fate that, you know, the hand that you're dealt sometimes in life, because we all have these different plans that we want to do, but sometimes those things don't work out.
I was going to be a medical doctor. I was pre-med at Westport.
There you go. See?
So look at me now.
Exactly. Now you're a doctor of metals.
Exactly. Alchemy.
And love. Well, I mean, it's interesting because, like, I mean, like, it's the same way with me. Like, I knew I wanted to do some kind of writing, but I didn't know I would end up being in the investment writing industry. And I didn't know that I would end up, you know, being this, like, investment guru type of guy. I didn't even know anything about the markets and stuff when I was in college. You know, so I kind of came to it, but what you do is, I think if you apply the principles, how to learn, how to focus, how to integrate things,
to be open to new ideas. Something else we have a little bit of a lacking right now.
Yes.
People being open to new ideas.
Well, people don't even want to talk about ideas. They do unto their own tribe, and that's it. You know, and if it's not in that tribe, then it's evil.
There's a confirmation bias, right?
There's a confirmation bias. It's a siloing of information, because, you know, people say, well, we got to talk to both sides. That's true, but if you're talking on something, and you're only listening to a certain amount of media, you're never going to get the other side, and it's vice versa for the other type of media too. You're not going to get the other side of that.
I strongly recommend people take it all in.
Take it in, yeah.
Be a critical thinker and make your own decisions. You know, it's important to compromise. At some points you can't compromise on.
Right.
At those points, if you have somebody that's diametrically opposed to you, you don't have to be enemies. You can talk about it, get across your points, listen to theirs, and agree to disagree, hug and walk away. And there's not a lot of that going on right now.
No, there's not.
It's one of the scary things for me, that and cancel culture.
Yeah, I mean,
you know?
I think we talked about this after the January 6th thing. You know, we were both upset about that because
it was a low point.
It was a low point, and it was also something that offended us, like, deeply, because we signed an oath to protect the ideas that place stands for.
No question about it.
You know, we might not like certain politicians that are out there doing their thing, but the idea of it and the concept.
It's the wrong approach.
It's the wrong approach, exactly. You don't get anywhere with the violence like that, or with being stupid, or trying to assault people, or trying to hang the vice president or whatever. You know, you get somewhere with a rational argument that tries to persuade.
Absolutely.
You know, because that's all we
back it up with experiential knowledge, and then you're convincing. So.
All we have is good conversation. That's why I like this podcast. We have good conversation.
Yeah.
We have conversations, and, you know, obviously you and I are more in the same kind of wheelhouse idea-wise. But I talk to other people that
I was just going to say, I have a really good friend I see every year at the New Orleans Investment Conference.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's diametrically opposed to me. I don't have to tell you what side I'm on. It doesn't matter. He's on the other side.
Yeah.
All right? If you have a meter, I'm here, he's here, right?
No matter
or
what.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, we have heated arguments, and I love it. I love the exchange of information. I want to hear where he's coming from. It's important to me, and it's fun, right?
Yes.
And then he gets upset. He storms off, comes back, and says, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And we hug.
Yeah.
You know? I mean,
it's beer time then.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got you.
You know? But it can become that passionate. It can be that intense and that, you know, closely felt to your heart, and it's okay.
It's okay.
Passionate people are good people.
Well, passionate people make the world worthwhile.
I agree.
Because they're the ones that do things.
Yep.
You know, the passion part of that's why like we do what we do. Because you're passionate about your business, I'm passionate about my business, I'm passionate about my hobbies. We're passionate about your hobbies, your family, our family. We're, you know, these things are, it's critical to be passionate about everything in your life.
Yep.
Because guess what? You only get one life.
Yep.
Everything matters, you know?
And sometimes, you know, I have a lot of folks that are worried about work-life balance and all this stuff, work social, work spiritual, whatever. You know, sometimes you try to keep it all in balance, but sometimes it's not in balance, right? Sometimes it is pegged all the way to business, or it's pegged all the way to family.
Yes.
In the long run, in the end, you want to seek that balance, but it's not always balanced.
There's periods of time when you really have to focus on one major project,
Of course.
and get that thing down. And then when you do that, then you can start, you know, bringing in the other things that matter to you as well. I mean, you can't forget about those things while you're doing your business. Sometimes you got to kick ass and focus on a mission, right?
Amen.
and other times you can be a little bit more relaxed about it and stuff like that. But
No two ways
you know,
about it.
but you have to, you have to, like, basically, it's one of the principles. You have to focus your mind sometimes on things that are hard.
If you want to succeed and you want to get results,
Yeah, if you want it. I mean, and the thing is, if you want to do something like that matters and you want to do it well, it's going to be hard.
Yep.
You know, because life is not easy.
It is not
you
easy.
know, I mean, some things
But
may
it is
come.
absolutely worthwhile.
Yeah, it's worthwhile, and some things may come easier to other people, but they still have to work their butts off to get really, like, competent at something.
Amen.
You know, and that's part of the show. This show is, you know, learning how to do that. You know, focusing on that kind of thing.
It's one of the things I love about your newsletter. It is definitely the deep woods, right? You know,
Yeah.
you're not just getting in stock picks or whatever. You know, you're getting insights into, you know, how to be a good human being and, you know, make a difference in this world.
So yeah, I mean, difficult, but well worth it.
Always.
Always.
Anything worth doing is going to take a little bit of pain.
Yeah.
And it is well worth the pain.
I think that's one of the things that we both learned in the military too. You know, the mission is the most important thing, and it might hurt like crazy getting there,
Yeah.
but
When you get there,
when
it's
you
like
get there, it's like that you
did
earned
something
it.
meaningful.
You did something meaningful.
Yeah.
I think that's one reason why I know everybody that that I served with, we were all there to do something meaningful.
Same.
You know.
So.
So.
And I will say, you still are, right? So
Yeah.
one of the things I appreciate.
Likewise.
One of the things I appreciate about you, Jim, is your service that you gave it. You didn't think twice. We were talking earlier about some of the missions we had were not good missions. If they came to fruition, you die. That's the only option available to you for your particular role in this big picture. And you do it willingly. So I appreciate that service, but I also appreciate that you took an oath and you're continuing to serve now, just in a different capacity. And I will tell you, Jim, it is one of the reasons.
You got a surprise for me.
It is one of the reasons that, you know, you are one of the folks that I just absolutely keep close to my heart at all times.
Lee, I did not expect that.
You are my brother from another mother. I get you.
Right on. Okay, well, with that, my flattering meter is just tilted out right now.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks so much, and look forward to the next time. All right, thank you.
Way of the Renaissance Man podcast and lifestyle website are copyrighted 2021 by Jim Woods. All rights reserved. For more great interviews and Renaissance Man resources, visit wayoftherenaissanceman.com.